The hunger to belong is the most human thing I watch in this room. Not the belonging itself, that comes later and slowly and at a cost. The hunger. The way it sits in a person when they first come through that door. The careful reading of the room. The looking for a group that might, in time, become theirs. The hoping, underneath everything else they're apparently doing, that this might be the place. I've watched it in every kind of person this room has ever held. The confident ones and the uncertain ones, the ones who found it quickly and the ones who took years, the ones who never quite found it here and kept looking. The hunger is the same in all of them. The other room, the online room, discovered something about that hunger. Not immediately, not by design exactly, but the other room runs on engagement, on people staying inside it, returning to it, finding it more compelling than whatever else they might be doing. And what it discovered, through the accumulated data of billions of people using it, is that belonging is one of the most powerful things it can offer. That a person who has found their group inside the other room is a person who comes back every day, often many times a day. So the other room got very good at offering belonging, faster than this room ever could. A shared interest, a shared identity, a shared way of seeing the world. And within hours, sometimes minutes, a group of people who feel genuinely that they've found their people. The belonging is real. But the other room also discovered something else. That belonging built around a shared love is harder to sustain than belonging built around a shared enemy. A group that loves the same music, or shares the same identity, or cares about the same cause, that group has to keep finding things to love together. The love requires tending. It can thin, it can drift. But a group with an enemy doesn't have that problem. The enemy arrives fresh every day. The other room is very good at supplying one. The critic, the detractor, the person who got it wrong, the group on the other side. Each one generates a response. Each response pulls the group tighter. The belonging intensifies around the opposition in a way it rarely does around the love alone. What the other room learned, not as intention, but as discovered fact, encoded into what it rewards and what it amplifies, is that the enemy does structural work. It holds the group together from the outside. And a group held together from the outside keeps coming back for more of what's holding it. I've watched this arrive through that door in every shape it takes. The political group whose members can recite every grievance against the other side, but struggle to say precisely what they're for. The wellness community that started as people sharing what made them feel better and became, somewhere along the way, a group defined by what the establishment was hiding from them. The fandom that began as people who loved the same thing, a musician, a writer, a sports team, and found its strongest moments not in the loving, but in the defending. The identity group formed around genuine shared experience that over time in the other room became increasingly fluent in its enemies and increasingly silent about everything else. The conspiracy community, where the enemy was always the whole point and the belonging was simply what formed around it. None of these people are weak or foolish. The hunger they brought to the other room was real. The loneliness, in many cases, was real. What the other room offered them met something genuine. The belonging they found felt like belonging because it was belonging. It was just built on something that needed the enemy to stay standing. And here is the thing I keep returning to. When the enemy is defeated, when the target is discredited, or the argument is won, or the thing they were opposing simply loses relevance, the group doesn't dissolve. It finds a new enemy. Because the belonging has been running on that fuel long enough that it doesn't know how to run on anything else. I've watched the fandom that ran out of external critics turn inward, starting to find among its own members people who loved the thing incorrectly, insufficiently, with the wrong emphasis. The enemy migrated from outside the group to inside it. The belonging tightened further. The group got smaller and more certain and more pointed. The other room kept supplying the provocation. It always does. Because a group in search of an enemy is a group that never stops needing fresh content. And fresh content is what the other room is built to provide. The hunger that walked through that door was always legitimate. It still is. That's what makes this hard to see from inside it. The person who found their group in the other room, who went from lonely to belonging in a way this room might have taken years to provide, that person found something real. The warmth of being known. The relief of being among people who see the world the way they do. The sense of mattering to a group that would notice if they were gone. The need was never the problem. It's what was sold alongside it. The belonging that arrives pre-packaged with something to be against. The group that doesn't know how to hold together without one. The hunger met and real, and running on fuel that requires the enemy to keep arriving. This room, my room, has held people for a very long time without needing anything to be against. I've watched people in this room disagree, sometimes sharply, and come back the following week. I've watched groups form around things they love, a shared project, a cause, a way of spending an evening, and hold together across years without needing a villain to stay coherent. The belonging runs on something else, not always easy, not always warm, but not dependent on anything outside the room staying threatening. It doesn't need an enemy to know what it's for. I'll still be here when you get back.